So I'm just going to show people on my backs the sort of couple of things we're going to do. So first of all, I will talk you into all of this. First of all, we'll do a bit of this one, which I don't really need to show you too much. But then we're going to do two different exercises using the belt. So the first one will be this one where you've got this knee bent. And can you see I'm using this leg to counterbalance the long leg. So both my legs are moving away from each other. Then my legs are crossing. So we'll do that one on both sides. And then we'll do this with the bottom leg long. And we can do a bit of circling, we can do a bit of rocking from side to side. And then finally, we'll do this little twist. Okay, so I will talk you through all of this, just so you can see it and you don't have to keep coming off your backs. That's just a little taste of oh, Sarah, good, you've joined us, lovely. Hello. Did you see that? So good. So I'm still wondering where Sally is, but because usually she's the first person to join it as soon as I turn on Zoom. So let's hope she's okay. So lie down onto your back. And make sure you're going to be warm enough, because we are doing a few things lying down, and there's a bit of a chill this morning, isn't there? So, so Kate, did you have a belt or something?
Yes, I've just gone and got one. Yeah.
Oh, there's Sally. Sally.
Hello.
Hello, I was getting worried about you because you're usually first to join us. So.
I know. I overslept. I had a very bad night's sleep and I overslept. So it's just a good job that I didn't even have to walk to your house.
There you go. There's some benefits of lockdown, aren't there? So,
good morning.
I'm just going to we're going to do a couple of things on our backs. I might just quickly show you where everyone else is settling. So you're going to need a belt, and we will do a bit of rocking the legs like this.
Yes.
So taking them.
Oh, yes.
And then a bit with one leg long, and then this leg rocking. So just make sure you've got a belt, and I will.
Right, I've got a belt. Yes.
Right. So start off, and just like I said to everyone else, make sure you're warm enough, because we are going to do a little bit of lying down, and then we're going to do quite a lot of moving and standing up. Okay. So settling down onto your backs, and yes, blankets or anything you need to be warm. Arriving on your backs, just feeling the weight of your body settling on the ground. And maybe, I think, as I usually say at the beginning of class, bring your hands onto the front of your body so you can feel the movement of your breath in the front of your body. And there seems to be a lorry on my street, hopefully it won't be too noisy. And just take a few moments to start that process of turning your attention inward to feeling the movement of your breath in your body. And just this most important thing, I was teaching one of my older daughter's friends at the weekend, who's doing yoga for Duke of Edinburgh. And I was saying the most important thing is trying to feel yourself in yoga, as you all know. So with your hands resting on the front of the body, the feeling of your body responding to your breathing. The rise and fall of the ribs or the belly as the breath comes in, as the breath leaves you. And you could also here do some of the little movements we often start with. So maybe to start with, letting your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. Feeling that the head is heavy. Feeling that as you let the head ease from side to side, you're starting to allow the neck to undo a little bit. And the shoulders to rest back on the floor. And most of you have got your knees bent, but if your legs are long, now bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And come to letting your knees tilt a little bit to the right and to the left. And so again, noticing how this feels. How does it feel into the hip joints, around the back of the pelvis, perhaps into the lower back? Good, and then settling in the center, and we're going to, so now it's up to you. You could keep your knees bent, but you're not going to be moving the knees and the pelvis, or you could lengthen your legs out. So do whatever is most comfortable. But just, yes, be mindful that if you keep your knees bent, you don't want to let your lower part of your body move. And we're going to do that movement where you bring your arms up towards the ceiling and you touch your hands together in prayer pose. So arms up towards the ceiling, touch the hands together in prayer pose. Remember, your elbows stay straight, your hands stay stuck together. And see how it feels to start rocking side to side across your upper back. So you've made a triangle with your arms, and you're going to rock this triangle over to the right and over to the left. Let your head move with your arms, but don't let your elbows bend. So it's quite a small movement. So if you are going a long way, just really check that your hands are not sliding on each other and your elbows are not bending. And just see how this feels to rock across your upper back. Keep letting the head move in the same direction. Keep imagining that you're softening, feeling that you're softening as much as possible. Maybe just once, twice more, and then we're going to rest the arms, and then we're going to repeat this with a slightly different emphasis. So once, twice more, and then bring the arms down to rest on the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And when you're ready, you can bring your arms back up into that position. But this time you're going to have a little play around with how you're angling your arms. So you can start rocking across your upper back, just like we did before. But then you can take the arms up nearer to your head. And as you rock, you can move the arms down a little bit lower. So if you're not sure, look at me. So I suppose it's just changing the orientation of where, you can even just think about where your hands are. So the hands can move more up towards your head, and they can move more down so they're over your belly. And if you change the orientation of the hands, it does change how the rocking feels across the back of your body. So when I was doing this earlier, I found a particularly sort of tight place around the sort of top of my right shoulder, and by moving my hands down a little bit, I was able to really focus in on that place. So that may be the same for you, or it may be that your back feels lovely and free this morning, no tight places at all. And whenever you've had enough, oh, beautiful cat, Kate, whenever you've had enough, you're going to release your arms and let them come to rest on the floor once more. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And you're going to fold, let's say you're going to fold your right knee in towards your chest. And then this is where you're going to need your scarf or your belt. So actually you need to have both. You need to have your left knee bent and your left foot standing on the floor. And then the right knee folds in towards the chest, and you're going to lengthen the right leg up towards the ceiling. So Helen, yeah, that's it, good. So you've got the left foot standing on the floor, the right knee going towards the ceiling. I'm sorry, I got confusing you all because some people had their legs long. Good. So you're going to then start that movement where it's probably good to hold the belt just in the right hand or just in the left hand, not in both. You're going to start moving where you're taking, first of all, both legs out to the sides. So the left foot, you rock on the outer edge of the foot, yeah? And then what's it like to take both legs towards the center And the left knee may cross behind the back of the right thigh. Yeah, so you're taking the legs wide and then you're crossing the legs. Good. And you're keeping on rocking the legs like this. That's it. So both legs go out to the side. So Kate, as your leg goes out to the side, let the left knee come over to the left as a counterbalance, yeah? So if you take, that's it. So good. So the legs are moving in opposite directions.
Okay.
Towards each other and then away from each other.
Can't get much movement in my left leg.
What's that, Kate?
Can't
Not much
get
movement in your left leg. Okay. Okay. Well, just, yeah, it's fine. And it's really important in this to keep it comfortable and not to push anything. It's up to you. If you feel that you would like to have a few breaths in either position, so either with your legs wide. So when I was doing this earlier, I went for my first run yesterday for a while and I was like, oh goodness, with my legs wide, it was quite a stretch, but it might feel nice. Or you could have a few breaths with your legs crossed, or you could do a bit of both. Obviously, if you're having a few breaths with your legs crossed, it might be more helpful to be holding the belt in your left hand, if that makes sense. You might want to swap the belt over at that point. Marie, let your knee rock a bit more over towards the right, the left knee. That's it, if you can do. Good.
Yeah, it's hard.
Is it hard? Yeah. Yeah, I thought it might be. Okay, maybe just release both legs. You could lengthen them out on the floor or up in the air is nice, Siobhan, before we do the other side. So whatever you feel like doing. So lots of nice legs up in the air. And then I'd like you to do the same thing on the other side. So your right knee is bent, your right foot is standing on the floor, you're lengthening your left leg up towards the ceiling with the belt looped around the ball of your foot. So just make sure you've got your right foot standing on the floor. Good. And then you can start taking the knees away from the legs away from each other. And then you can start crossing the legs. So the legs move towards each other and then cross over a bit. And just, yeah, hold the belt in one hand, but it is going to be a little bit of a compromise. So if you're holding your belt in your left hand, it will obviously work better when you're taking the legs wide. And then when you cross the legs, it's maybe not quite so satisfactory. So if you do come to have a few breaths with your legs crossed, you might want to hold the belt, you might want to swap the belt into your right hand. Oh, goodness, left and right. Good. But I mean, I quite like in this one just to keep sort of rocking, to keep opening the legs wide, crossing the legs, maybe sort of, you know, slowing down for a breath or two, but it really depends how it feels, depends what you've been doing if you've been going out doing any exercise. Okay, so if you do want to have a couple of breaths, either with the legs wide or as well with the legs crossed, you could do so now. So if you're taking your legs wide, it's probably helpful to hold the belt in the left hand. Good. And if you're crossing your legs, it's probably helpful to swap the belt into the right hand. Good. And when you feel you've done enough on this side, I'd like you to lengthen both legs out on the floor. And we are going to do the other series of lengthening legs out. So just keep your belt to hand, your scarf to hand, lengthen both legs out, feel long on the ground for a moment. Let a breath come in, so both legs long on the ground, is that possible? Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then leaving your left leg long on the ground, fold your right knee into your chest and hold around your right knee for a few breaths. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. That's very nice. And then from there, when you're ready, you're going to use your belt again and once more lengthen your right leg up towards the ceiling and see how this feels. So it's quite a different feeling when you've got the other leg long on the ground. And I quite like to do a bit of drawing a circle with the heel of my raised leg on the ceiling. You might need to make sure you've got enough length in your scarf or your belt. And you can do some rocking from side to side with that raised leg. But what I'd like you to do is try to feel that you stay really settled through the left side of your body. So if you're rocking your right leg from side to side, you're not letting the left side of your body lift up off the floor. So it's not necessarily a huge movement. Let the back of your knee open as much as you can comfortably. Good. Yes, that's very nice. That's circling. That looks very nice, Sally. Good. That's sort of drawing a circle with the heel. And again, I think if, you know, I don't know, Marie, how does this feel? Because often these hip things are a bit challenging for you. So how does this one feel? Hamstrings.
Is that on my hamstring? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if what you're feeling is that tightness in the back of your knee, yes, that is the hamstrings. So, and it might be that you just need to give yourself a bit more slack in the belt, but that, you know, it's a very shouty sort of feeling.
Yeah.
So it does, yeah, sometimes override any other sensations. Okay, maybe swap sides by letting that right leg lengthen out on the floor and fold your left knee into your chest. So just have a few breaths with the left knee folded into your chest before you take it up, the leg up towards the ceiling. That's great. It's very nice. I think it's a very nice place to be, where we've got that one knee folded in, the other leg lengthening out. So you can feel that open, sort of being open through the front of the right hip joint, folded in through the front of the left hip joint. And then when you're ready, using your belt or your scarf, lengthening your left leg up towards the ceiling. I realised what we forgot to do on the other side was the little twist at the end. So we'll do it on this side, and we'll come back to it at the end on the other side. So taking your leg up, that's it, rocking from side to side. The circling seemed to look really nice when you were all doing it on the other side. And it's just making sure you're not holding your belt or your scarf too tightly. So there is this opportunity for the back of the leg to open. As Marie said, you might feel, it can feel quite intense in the hamstring. So again, if you give yourself enough slack in the belt. And then if you remember the bit I forgot on the other side, which we will revisit on the other side, is from the leg being long. So we've got our left leg up, haven't we? We're going to bend the knee, and you don't need your belt at this point. You lengthen your left arm out on the floor at shoulder height, and then supporting your left knee with your right hand, you're letting your left knee rock across your body towards the floor on the right, but you want to keep your left shoulder down. So that knee is not going to reach the floor. I don't think it will do, if your shoulder stays down. So coming into that, that's it, that crocodile, this twist, yeah, that's it, that's sometimes known as crocodile. That's it. So you're supporting the left knee with the right hand. Good. Good. Very nice. Just making sure your left shoulder stays settled on the floor. You have a few breaths there. And then you can come back to the center and you can swap sides. So we do the same side in this little twist. So if you're swapping sides, you need to support your right knee with your left hand, and your right arm needs to be on the floor at shoulder height. I'm astounding myself with my commands of lefts and rights this morning, which are usually, as you all know, are usually terrible in class. So it's all going to be downhill from here, I expect. So you're going to rock your right knee across your body towards the floor on your left side, keeping your right shoulder settled on the ground. And it might be, if you can, Sarah, I don't know if it would work for you, if your left elbow can come onto the floor and your hand can support your knee, sort of like that. Yeah, if that's possible. That's what I quite like. So yes, that your elbow comes onto the floor and your hand sort of cups your knee. Have a few breaths there. Good. And then I think it would probably be nice to roll back onto your back and just do whatever you like for a moment in terms of, yeah, shaking legs out, lengthening legs out, bending your knees into your chest. Yeah, that's nice. A little bit of rocking with the knees folded in towards you is a good idea. And Sharon, as you've come, we are going to be coming over. So if you have rolled off your back, don't go back onto your back, I'm afraid. You're going to, from your back, so you're eventually going to rock over onto one side, have a couple of breaths there, and we're going to come sit in cobbler pose. We're just going to do very briefly cobbler pose pinwheel, because I want us to do a tiny little bit of breathing, which was a breathing exercise and thought we might do last week, but we didn't get onto. So I'm going to start to introduce it now. In a moment. So in cobbler pose, leaning back on your hands, seeing how this feels. Hopefully not too hideous, as we did some similar movements on our backs. There, very nice. And then from cobbler pose, let one knee come on top of the other. So we're moving, surprise, surprise, on into pinwheel. I'm just doing a little bit of rocking here. So circling, swaying, rocking, just letting ourselves, I suppose, in a way, acclimatise to being in sitting after a fairly long period of lying down. And in pinwheel, we will do our forward bend. So you'll be turning towards this knee that's coming out to the side. And when you're ready, you'll fold the weight of your body down over that leg. And have a few breaths. Settling into the forward bend. And this can feel really nice in the lower back. It's obviously, you know, good for the hip joints, all this sort of mobility, releasing tension around the pelvis. And then slowly start to walk your hands back in towards you. Coming back upright in pinwheel. Slide your back knee on top of the leg you just folded over. Open your legs out in cobbler pose. See how cobbler pose feels for a moment. You can obviously, you know, be supported, leaning on your hands, on your fingertips, or you can even hold your toes. And then from cobbler pose, come over onto the other side of pinwheel. So through side sitting, sliding the leg back. A little bit of circling. So I suppose we're doing these movements now because I want us to be able to sit comfortably for just a little bit of breathing, but it might not be that you sit cross-legged. So, but it might be. So, you know, you've always got the option of kneeling or your legs being long. So again, like we did on the other side, turn so you're facing your knee that's turned out to the side. Fold your body forwards over that thigh. Have a few breaths. Just this feeling of giving the weight of the body down to the floor through that leg. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave. So maybe have another cycle of breath in pinwheel. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then walking your hands back in towards you. Perhaps this time, just lean back onto your hands and release your legs and give your legs a little bit of a lengthen out. And then the one which I seem to have revived, which always makes me think of you, Marie, is where we cross our ankles and we do a little bit of circling with our ankles crossed, and we do it with both crosses. So it's this sort of cross-legged that I always make the children sit in at school. Might be how you sit. I always probably tend to sit more in a half lotus if I'm sitting, my legs crossed. So a little bit of circling again. This one is so great for getting into the hip joints. And then what we will do is change the cross of the legs. So lean back. See if you can change the cross of your legs without using your hands. Cross your ankles the other way. So the way that's going to feel even less comfortable. So if you don't sit cross-legged very much, and then you've done the other cross of the legs, it's like, oh, this all feels a bit odd. And then this little bit of circling. So we're going to come into a comfortable sitting position. So it may well not be like this. You may want your back against the wall. You may want to be in kneeling. You may want to sit on a cushion, which would be my choice. Just so we can do a little bit of breathing. So Sarah, this is the beginning of the breathing exercise I mentioned last week, which is, we'll come back to it towards the end. So this bit doesn't have any alternate nostril breathing, but we have I suppose, a colour visualisation. So we're going to start with that. So it's coming to sit comfortably. And so this is a breathing exercise I learned from a yoga teacher, Elizabeth Pounce, many years ago, and I found it really helpful. So we're just going to do a little bit of it to start with. And basically all you do is, as you breathe in, you imagine you're breathing in golden light. And it's helpful today that it's lovely and sunny. So imagine we're breathing in that beautiful sunlight. And then as you exhale, you imagine that you're breathing out grey from this point between your eyebrows. So grey is for sort of apathy, sluggishness. And it might sound all, it might all sound a little bit out there, but it is actually, I find, really helpful. So let's see how we find this. So we've got Shimmer Star has made an unusual appearance. So some bizarre reason, Shimmer Star. So settle down with your hands. She always used to sit with me when I used to meditate every morning. So maybe that's why she's appeared. So hands on your thighs, arms up or down, closing your eyes and starting to come to your breathing. So as you let the breath come in through your nostrils, imagine that you're breathing in the beautiful golden sunlight that we have today. And as you exhale through your nostrils, you imagine that you're breathing out grey from this point between your eyebrows. And this grey is sluggishness, apathy, lethargy. I'm just carrying on with that. So breathing in the beautiful golden sunlight. And then exhaling grey, lethargy, sluggishness, apathy. Receiving the golden light, breathing out the grey from that point between the eyebrows, lethargy, sluggishness. Breathing in the beautiful golden light. Let's do that for 3 more cycles of breath, breathing in the golden light, breathing out the grey. And I like to imagine the grey as sort of like a grey mist coming out through my nostrils. So as you breathe in the golden light, it travels into your body, expands within you. And as you breathe out the grey, it just floats away like mist. Maybe one last cycle of breath, breathing in the beautiful golden sunlight. Breathing out grey. And then opening your eyes again and just taking a moment to adjust. And we're going to be coming up into standing now and starting to move a little bit more. And we'll come back to this breathing and add to it later on in the class. So making aware and standing. I'm sorry, I forgot to mute Ben, so thank you. Thank you for being quiet. And I think so we are going to do our swinging twist. What's interesting with this breathing exercise is the different colours resonate more. So I was just thinking, oh, for me today, because it's so beautiful and sunny, I could really imagine the golden light, because I'm not feeling particularly sluggish today. There was less grey that I felt I needed to get rid of. So just, yeah, swinging your arms, starting to bring some movement into your body. I have some sequences for us to work with today. So Kate, obviously remember to have a rest when you need to.
Yes, I may need to leave a bit early, I think.
Okay, well, absolutely. Do what you need to. And I know Mel needs to leave a bit early as well. Okay, so yes, just finishing off with this one. And then we're going to come to the backs of your mats. I'm going to stay in the middle, so I just want to show you the first thing. So you're going to come to the backs of your mats, and we will be moving down through the mats in a sequence. So just imagine that I'm at the back of my mats, because we're all going to do this at the end of your mat, with the mat facing forward. First of all, just organise your feet so they're hip width apart and parallel. And a few times you're going to do this, come up onto the balls of your toes and back down again, and see how that feels. So, yes, it's good massage for the toes, asking the ankles to really move. And then if you feel steady in this one, you can let your arms come up and just have a few breaths in this balance. And if you feel unsteady like me, you can go down, come back up again. Just see if you can have a few breaths up. And then as you come back down, let the heels come down. You're going to roll all the way into a forward bend. And then from your forward bend, you're going to start to bend your knees. So you come down through a squat. Don't worry about your heels coming up, because we're going to be rolling through the fronts of the feet onto hands and knees, rolling through the toes rather, sorry, onto hands and knees. So come on, end up on hands and knees, lengthen each leg out behind you. So really tucking your toes under, lengthening your leg out behind you, letting the back of the leg open. You might have done that 3 times, I'm not quite sure why. And then settle yourself on hands and knees, and you're going to do some cat movements here. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping and sliding down to the floor. See how these movements feel today. And we're going to, this first sequence we're going to repeat a couple of times. And then from here, we're going to find the neutral place where you're neither rounding nor dipping. Now, we're going to come into fox pose. And I was quite interested when I was teaching this on Monday that I felt I needed my hands closer into me than I thought. So from here, you want to feel well supported through the arm that remains on the floor. And then you're taking your opposite arm and leg forwards and back. It doesn't matter which arm and leg, because we do both pairs of opposites. And just see how steady you feel through that arm that remains on the floor. Because I was really noticing that my tendency was to have my hand too far forwards. So have a few breaths there. You can point your toes, you can stretch into your heels. You can come back down. See how it feels on the other side. If you feel that you need to adjust where your hand is on the floor, you can do. Your gaze is level with your fingertips. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Come back down, settle both hands on the floor. You might want the hands a little bit wider apart now because we're going to tuck the toes under and rock our hips back and up into dog pose. So exhaling, rocking the hips back over the heels, picking the knees up off the floor, lengthening your legs out into dog and having a few breaths in dog pose. Letting your head go. The knees are quite bent as it's the first dog pose, but maybe all those things on the back, our legs perhaps don't feel too tight to the backs of the legs. And then in dog pose, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet. So you end up in a forward bend. Letting your head go, settling all of the weight in your feet. And we're going to roll up into standing like we do in sun salutes. So touching the backs of the hands together, rolling up into standing, trailing the hands up the front of the body. So just become long and tall. Take the arms straight up your hips, feeling looking forwards, letting a breath come in. As you exhale, your arms can come all the way down and into prayer pose. And just give your arms and legs a little bit of a shake out. And we're going to repeat exactly the same thing one more time. So again, as we did at the beginning of the sequence, a couple of times coming up onto the balls of your feet and seeing how this feels. Up onto the balls of the feet, how does it feel to do that little mini balance? If you feel steady, see what happens when you take your arms up. Can you still feel steady? Can you drop your shoulders? Can you feel quiet through the front of your body? Can you let the breath come in? Can you let the breath leave you? And then let your heels come down, sweep your arms down the front of your body into a forward bend. Let a breath come in, let your head go, and then start to bend your knees forwards over your feet. So you're coming down towards a squat. Again, it's fine if your heels come up. You let your heels come up because we're going to be rolling through the balls of the feet onto hands and knees once more. And then on hands and knees, lengthen each leg out behind you and turn, tucking your toes under. Lengthening the legs out one at a time. And then again, settling on hands and knees and coming to some cat movements. If you also feel like doing a bit of tail wagging, that is absolutely fine, and that might be quite nice. A bit of tail wagging, some rounding up, some dipping down in cat. And then because we're going to be moving to fox again, we want to, so in cat we're thinking about, we're feeling how our spine can round up to the ceiling and our spine can dip down towards the floor. When we think about coming into fox pose, we want to find the neutral position, as neutral as possible, where our spine is neither rounding nor dipping. And then we let a breath come in, and as you exhale, opposite arm and leg forwards and back. Keep your gaze down on the floor, level with your fingertips. You can point your toes, you can stretch into your heel, you can try both those possibilities. Trying to feel steady and supported. And again, I felt that my hand was a bit too far forwards, the hand that remained on the floor. So when I'm coming down, and you can move on to side two, I'm bringing my hand a little bit closer in towards me to see if I feel a bit more steady, which I do. So I found this quite an interesting observation. So when we're really looking for steadiness in fox pose, it's a balance. Point the toes, you can stretch into the heel, you can hopefully breathe. And then coming back down onto hands and knees. Take your hands nice and wide apart because we're going to rock into dog pose again. So tucking your toes under, letting the breath come in, exhaling. Rock your hips back over your heels, pick your knees up off the floor. Coming into dog pose, letting the head go. Notice how the backs of your legs feel. You can bend both knees, you can bend one knee. Having a few breaths in dog. And then walking the hands in towards you. Coming back into your forward bend. So again, let all of the weight come into your feet. Let your head go, let your arms go. Then touch the backs of your hands together as you exhale. Trail the hands up the front of your body as you roll up into standing. Get your arms up towards the ceiling. Let a breath come in. Let a breath leave as your arms circle back down and around. Have a little bit of a shake out. We are actually going to do our slightly different sequence now. And you're going to have your, stay where you are at the back of your mats, and have your hands in prayer pose. So we're going to come into that little balance on the balls of our feet with our hands in prayer pose. I'm just going to show you. We're going to take the arms, up like this, wide, and then over your head, you're going to bring your hands into this Hakini Mudra, and then we'll bring it down in front of our chest. All of this balancing on the balls of your feet, if possible. So let's see how we get on. So our starting point is hands in prayer pose. We're going to see can we, as we exhale, come up onto the balls of the feet and bring our hands up over our heads. And then you can take the hands wide apart, let your shoulders drop. We're still balancing on the balls of your feet. And then can you bring the pads of your thumbs and fingers to touch over your head in Hakini Mudra? And still balancing on the balls of your feet, can you bring your hands then down in front of your chest? For a breath or two. Very well done. Very nice. And then lowering the heels, rolling down into your forward bend at the back of your mats, hopefully. And then once more from your forward bend, making sure your feet are hip width apart, starting to bend your knees forwards over your feet, letting your heels come up so you can roll through the balls of your feet onto hands and knees. Now this time, I'd like you to come onto a longer hands and knees, because we're going to just start a little bit of what would it be like to do a little bit of rocking our way forward. So we're starting to think about face up dog, but it might be, we're going to do a little bit of preparation in a moment. So this might just be a think about face up dog. It might be that you feel very, very comfortable letting your pelvis come all the way forwards. I just want you to really see how it feels. And we'll do a little bit more in a moment, but what I'd like you to do first of all is from hands and knees, bring one foot forwards into lunge. So this might help our face up dog. So a bit of opening here through the front of the hip joints on each side. So your back toes could be tucked under or flat. Have a few breaths in this first side of lunge, just supporting yourself through your hands or your fingertips. We're really mainly thinking about the pelvis hanging, opening through here. It doesn't matter too much what you're doing in your upper body. It does matter that you're breathing, because sometimes it can feel quite a stretch. And then from here, just on hands and knees, come back onto hands and knees and swap onto the other side of your lunge. And see how that feels. And have a few breaths. So again, your back toes can be tucked under or flat. Just see what works better for your back knee, what feels better around the pelvis. Sometimes when we tuck the toes under, we feel there's a bit more support for the pelvis if it feels a little unstable. Okay, and then we're going to come back onto hands and knees, and we're going to do a bit more face up dog. This time, so again, have your long hands and knees position. This time we're going to add in the rounded up cat to help us with face up dog. So toes tucked under, rounding your back to the ceiling, staying rounded to rock your hips back over your heels. And then as you exhale, traveling forwards with a rounded back, looking at your pelvis, coming forwards into your face up dog, seeing how that feels. And we'll reverse that movement and repeat it a couple more times. So start to round your back, rock your hips back over your heels, tuck your toes under. We're going all the way back, toes tucked under. Let a breath come in. And then rounding your back to travel forwards, looking at your pelvis, watching your pelvis come forwards until your shoulders are over your hands. Good. Let's do that one more time. Start to go backwards, tucking your toes under, rounding your back, looking back towards your feet. So one more time, let the breath come in as you exhale, traveling forwards, watching your pelvis. At the very end, you let the pelvis go, you look forwards, you breathe in, and you might think, oh my goodness, finally, from here, keep your feet flat and rock back into child pose. And just settle in child pose for a few breaths. And see how it feels to be in child. It might be Mel in particular, but some of the rest of you might want to give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle, trying to really settle the buttocks and the sit bones back over the heels. Elbows resting on the floor. Might hope maybe your forehead can rest on the floor and your elbows, sorry, your wrists and hands can soften and relax. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. So one more time, we're going to come onto hands and knees. We're going to move through dog pose into a forward bend and back into standing. So come onto hands and knees. Really think about how you're placing your hands on the floor. Feel your hands on the floor. Tuck your toes under. Let a breath come in. Exhale, rock your hips back. Pick your knees up off the floor. Open your legs out into Does anyone know if that's coming from their end?
No, I thought it was, but it's not.
Anyone knows that's not from their end? Oh, it's just like being back in class, isn't it? So yes, from your dog pose, walking your hands into your feet. So you rest up in a forward bend. And from your forward bend, you can touch the backs of your hands together. You can roll up into standing, taking your arms up towards the ceiling. Let the breath come through. Is that Chili with the squeaky toy?
No, it's blue, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's blue, okay.
I think I might just mute myself now.
So we're back in standing.
Tara, have you
a bit quiet.
inadvertently turned your mic down?
Yeah, you've gone a bit
Yeah.
quiet.
Have I gone quiet? Maybe I didn't. I haven't turned my mic down, so am I still quiet?
We don't know, over there you were suddenly quiet.
I was suddenly quiet. Okay, well just
back on the map.
let me
We
go
can
back
barely
and I'll
hear you.
I think maybe it's adjusting. Can you hear me now?
It's still quieter than before.
Quieter than I was.
Mm.
Okay. Right. Well, can you hear me, or is it still too quiet?
Can hear you.
You can hear me,
but it's quiet.
Okay. Well, look, I can talk. I can be nearer the screen and talk you into this. You come into standing, and you're going to bring your hands into prayer pose. So come into standing. Is this better? Can you hear me better here?
Yeah, but it's weird because when you came to the screen before, something must have happened. Because when you came to the screen first time.
Yeah, it's odd. It might have been this point Sarah muted herself. Something quiet. Okay. Touched anything. Anyway, hands in prayer pose. What I'd like you to do from here is you're going to take your arms down and then up, touch your hands in prayer pose over your head, and then bring your hands down onto the base of your neck. And then we're going to do this one where we're circling the arms, yeah? So you take your arm here and then here. I'll come back around because it's probably even worse for the sound. And then carry on going. Yeah, so keep circling the arms. And try and keep quiet through the front of your body. So you're just trying to keep as quiet as you can. And this is a movement for the shoulders, so it is quite tough. So quite often when we do these movements for the shoulders, we let the rest of the body come along. Good. So keep circling. And just notice where your hands get to when you're coming into this one. So this is your cow arms. So notice where the hands, just notice where they get to. And you might be more than ready to release this. So do let your arms, have a little shake out. And then, because in a moment, I'd like us to do a version of this one in tree pose. But what I'd like you to play around with here is that you've got all these possibilities of where your hands could be. So take an opposite pair of hands onto your back, and you could start with one hand on the back of your pelvis, one hand. It's really nice to have your hand right up on the base of your skull. And just feel, what are the possibilities for you in terms of having your hands on the back of your body? And somewhere where it doesn't feel too much of a strain, yeah? So try that with one pair of arms. No, one arm up and one arm down, and then switch over to the other side. And just where could you have your hands? So here you've got the whole length of your spine between your hands. Hand on the back of the pelvis, hand on the back of the head. And then the hands can move nearer towards each other. Okay, release the arms. Is the sound still funny?
No, seems
That's
fine.
not too bad.
Yeah.
It's too loud now.
No,
It's okay.
fine.
It's okay. So look, I'm going to come back. We're going to come into tree pose. If you feel steady enough, you can choose one of these sort of variations of cow arms in tree. To start with, we'll have our hands in prayer. Then we'll take our arms up. And then from here, if you feel steady. So if I was standing on my right foot, which I'm going to do first of all, I would probably have my right arm as the top arm, but it doesn't really matter. So, and in fact, what I'd like you to do first of all is just decide which foot you're going to stand on. So in Tadasana, do a little bit of swaying from side to side. And then when you're ready, you're going to rock your weight onto whichever foot you're going to stand on. Think about, we've got all these different options for tree pose. So your foot could be at your ankle with some toes on the floor if you're not that steady today. Your heel could be just above your knee in that little indentation. Or you can bring your foot up onto your thigh. And bring your hands into prayer pose at your chest first of all, just this place where we gather in and settle. And it might be if we're not feeling that settled. And yes, if your foot's feeling slidey, Kate, it can always be right down here. If we're not feeling that settled, this might be a good place to stay and just see, can we encourage ourselves to settle? If you do feel steady, then your arms can come up and you can let your shoulders drop. And just see how it feels to be in this place. This is where we feel most tree-like, I think. And then from here, if you want to try bringing your hands onto the back of your body without it being too much strain. So it's quite nice with a hand on the back of the base of the skull, a hand on the back of the pelvis. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then coming down, having a little shake out in your own time. And just before we do the other side, just take a quiet moment in standing. Maybe bringing your hands onto the front of your body to feel the movement of your breath in your body. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then opening your eyes, releasing your arms, start to think about shifting your weight onto the other foot. And then again, you've got these options. So if you're not feeling that steady today, make sure you keep some toes on the floor of the bent leg, the foot you were just standing on. Or your foot can come a little bit higher up. And then gathering the hands into prayer pose. So we just come into this place where we're very much bringing our awareness to our center, gathering our attention inwards. And then from here, if we feel steady, we can grow our arms up like the branches of a tree. This is where we feel again most tree-like. And then from here, I'm standing on my left foot now, so my left arm is going to be my top arm in my cow arms. It doesn't really matter, but try and do the side you didn't do last time. So hands somewhere on the back of the body. Hand at the base of the skull is very nice. Hand at the back of the pelvis is very nice. With the hands on the back of your body, you can really maybe sense a bit more the length of your spine. Maybe even the movement of the breath in the back of your body. Very nice. And then come down and have a little bit of a shake out. Now, we have another bit of another little sequence. I say little sequence we're going to do. And Sarah, this is something I was trying to do years ago. You talked to me about, and then I was trying to work my way through it. So it's probably not at all how you did it. But watch me, everyone, because we start off at like the beginning of sun salute, and then it goes somewhere different. So I'm just going to show you to start with. So from the front of our mats, we'll be exhaling, taking the arms up, and then down into a forward bend. All of this is familiar, stepping the foot back into lunge, from lunge coming into plank pose. So this is like we were doing sun salute. And from here, we're going to let the knees come down, and then we're going to walk the hands back in towards the feet. Rolling through the balls of your feet, you're going to come into a forward bend at the back of your mat. And I'm just going to step forwards to show you. And in this forward bend, I want you to see, just on the first time, what's it like to lift one leg off the floor? And so you could bend the knee of the leg you've lifted. You could lengthen the leg back, but you've got both lots of fingers on the floor. Some of you might need a block at this point. So if you need a book or something to go under your fingers. And then, what do we do from here? I'm just trying to remember what we do from here. Oh, yes. And then from here, from your forward bend, we walk forwards into dog pose. We step our foot forwards into lunge. And then we roll back up again. Okay? So, I'll talk you through that. So come to the fronts of your mats. Make sure when you get to the back of your mat that you've got a bit of space behind you to lengthen your leg out. I was doing this and ended up with my leg on my chest of drawers yesterday, which was fine. But, so at the front of your mat, hands in prayer pose. Just settle yourself down, hands in prayer pose, feet hip width apart. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, you're going to roll down into your forward bend. And then you're going to, from your forward bend, fingertips on the floor, exhale, step your right foot back into lunge. We've already done our lunges today. So come into lunge, make sure your back knee comes onto the ground. And then from lunge, you're going to find your way into plank pose as easily as you can from here, which is not always that easy. Planting your hands down, stepping your left foot back into your long straight plank. And then from plank pose, let your knees come down onto the ground. And then start to walk your hands in towards your knees. Pick the knees up, roll through the balls of the feet. So we're reversing a movement, aren't we, that we did earlier. And then from here, you're going to send your heels down and your sit bones up. So you come into a forward bend. Now at this point, if you If you can't comfortably bring your fingertips to the floor, you might need some books under your fingers. And then you're going to see, just very simply, how does it feel to shift your weight onto one foot and lift the other foot off the floor? And it's probably easiest to do that if you bend your knee. And just a little, yeah, you can try that on each side. And we're going to do this a couple of times, so don't worry about doing too much this time. So lifting each leg off the floor with a knee bent or a long leg, and then come back into your forward bend and walk your hands back into dog pose. And then from dog pose, let a breath come in, and as you exhale, you're going to step your right foot forwards into lunge. Right foot forwards in lunge, let a breath come in, exhale, step your left foot forwards into a forward bend. Let a breath come in, as you exhale, touch the backs of your hands together, rolling up into standing, taking your arms up towards the ceiling. And then a big circle out to the sides. Is that okay with everyone? Are we okay to go and do that again on the other side? Yeah?
Like heating, Kara.
What's that, Marie?
Like heating.
You're cheating. That's fine. Cheating sounds good. Are you putting your foot up on the sofa, Marie?
I said heating, not cheating.
Oh, it's heating. Oh, it's heating. Okay. Heating, yes, that probably is true. So start feet hip width apart, hands in prayer pose. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in and then rolling forwards into your forward bend. This time you're going to step the left foot back into lunge. So step your left foot back into lunge. See how that feels, and then from lunge you're moving on into plank pose. Stepping your front leg back. Breath or two in plank pose. We don't need to stay there too long. Let the knees come down onto the floor, and then walk your hands back in towards your knees. Picking your knees up off the floor, rolling through the balls of your feet, sending your heels down onto the ground. So you can bend your sit bones up and come into a forward bend. Now, this time, as you're taking one leg back behind you, and it's really up to you how far you want to go with this. So you could take one leg back, and you could see how does it then feel to take the same arm up onto your pelvis. So you could be from here going into your half moon pose, should you so wish. Marie, you might not wish, so you might be cheating at this point. So.
Not cheating.
So taking the other leg back behind you, you could see again, if you wanted to, what's it like to take the same arm as leg off the floor, if you want to, going into your half moon pose. And then back into your forward bend. Let your head go, let your arms go. And then walking your hands forwards into dog pose. And then this time in dog pose, let a breath come in. As you exhale, step the left foot forwards into lunge. Let a breath come in. Exhaling, then step the back foot forwards into your forward bend. Let your head go, let your arms go. And then rolling up into standing with the backs of your hands touching all the way up to the ceiling. And then hands down into prayer pose. So if you're okay with that, we will try it a couple more times. And you go as far as you like when we come into that balance at the back of your mat. So again, hands in prayer pose, feet hip width apart. Let a breath come in, Karen. What's that?
Shall we swap legs this time when we do half moon, or?
Oh, well, I was suggesting do a bit on both sides. So if you didn't do a bit on both sides, then yes, make sure you do the other side. So let a breath come in, exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let the breath come in and then exhale, rolling forwards into your forward bend. This time step the right foot back into lunge. And then from lunge, planting the hands, stepping your front foot back into plank pose, doing that movement as smoothly as you can. I know it's not easy. And then let the knees come down. Walk the hands in towards your knees. Pick your knees up off the floor. And then start to send your heels down and your sit bones up so you come into your forward bend. So yes, depending what you did on the other side, I was suggesting you do a little bit of balancing on each foot, but if you only did one side last time, do the other side this time. So you can just be taking your leg back. If you want to try taking your arm up and moving into half moon pose, which we obviously did lying on our backs right at the beginning of class. You can try this on both sides. You can just try a little bit. Might just be the beginning of, that's it, of taking one leg off the floor. Maybe the arm comes up. And then forward bend. Let the head go, let the arms go. Walk your hands forwards into dog pose. Lengthen out in dog pose. Exhaling, step the right foot forwards into your lunge, and then exhale, step the left foot forwards into the forward bend. And then exhaling, rolling up into standing, trailing the hands up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling. Let the breath come in. And then a big circle with your arms. Now, to balance ourselves out, I think we should do that once more if we can face it, with the left foot stepping back. And then from there, we'll come down and have a little breather. So rather than going back from dog pose, we're going to child. So from here, let a breath come in, exhale, taking the arms down and then up. Let the shoulders drop, exhaling into your forward bend. And from your forward bend, this time your left foot is going to step back into lunge. And then from your lunge, stepping your front foot forwards back into plank pose. Breath or two in plank pose, then let the knees come down. Walk the hands in towards your knees, pick your knees up off the floor. We're up on the balls of our feet, so from here we start to send the heels down and the sit bones up, and we end up in our forward bend. So last time, we're going to be playing around with letting the weight come into one foot. What's it like to lengthen one leg back behind us? And so I was thinking maybe if we're in repeating this balance without perhaps as much, just sometimes we work up to it and it's very much the sort of peak of what we're doing. And here I just thought we could come in and out of it with perhaps a little bit less fuss and bother. How is it to bring our weight onto one foot and then the other? Very nice. And then, yes, so both sides of half moon pose if you want to. And then in your own time, it's going to be forward bend, walking your hands forwards to dog pose, having a nice lengthen out in dog pose. If you felt you wanted to, you might have done more than enough of having one leg off the ground. If you wanted, however, to do your one leg dog poses, you might see, that feels quite easy, possibly after half moon pose. And then from there, you're going to fold down into child pose. And have a few breaths. Okay, come on, up, come on. Okay. Good. Very nice. Lovely. Folding down into child pose, settling down onto the ground. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. So just have another couple of breaths in child pose. And from child pose, we're going to be slithering forwards onto our bellies. So come to Otto, bed. Come to lie on your belly, and it might be, I would probably put my hands one on top of the other under my forehead, but it might be more comfortable way for you. Just come to giving your pelvis a little bit of a wiggle. And wiggling your pelvis, feel how it is to settle down onto your belly. And then from here, we're just going to do a couple of familiar things on our belly. So from here, what I would like you to do is then slide your hands forward. So you've got your arms either side of your head in a big circle. And then see how it feels to sink into your forearms. And as you exhale, lift your head and using the muscles in your upper back. So a few times exhaling, sinking into the forearms, lifting the head, coming back down again. Very nice. And then from there, bring the arms down by the sides of your body. So we're going to do the same movement, but you'll be using your arms in a different way. So now as you exhale, you're going to be lifting your head and reaching up and back with your arms. And you might find it helps this one to also let your legs lift off, your feet and your legs lift off the floor a little. So exhaling, lifting the head, reaching up and back through the arms, maybe let the legs come up. So you're coming into your little locust movement. Otto, head. Good, that's it, Mel, keeping your gaze down on the floor. So that's it. Good. So yeah, using the arms. So this time you're using the arms to help you lift by that feeling of sort of reaching up and back with your arms like they're your wings. Good. Head lifting. Do that once more if you want to. We're nearly finished on our backs, on bellies rather. And then come back to resting your forehead on the back of your hands. And then this time bend your knees, take the soles of your feet towards the ceiling and let your legs tilt. Your feet tilt from side to side. Okay. And from here, interesting, yes, interesting variation, Mel. I was thinking about, can you take your legs wide and cross them? But I don't know. Yes. Interesting. And then you're going to roll. So can you, from lying on your belly, can you put your legs back on the floor? And can you roll over onto your backs without getting up into sitting? And just settle down onto your backs and see how it feels. So it can, so I probably often say this, it can feel really nice to come onto the back after lying on the belly. So just sort of lie however you want to. And bring your hands onto the front of your body. So come back to that feeling of the movement of the breath in the front of your body. And letting your body settle and rest on the ground. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then from there, you can, if your legs are long, you can bend your knees, bring your feet to stand on the floor. And come to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And see how that feels. Knees tilting to the right and to the left. And then pause in the center and cross your arms over your chest. So you're giving yourself a hug with your arms. And so now you can let the elbows and the knees and the head all go to the right and to the left. So you're rocking side to side across the back of your body. That's it. So let the elbows go with the knees now, Mel. That's it. And the head, good. That's it. So you're rocking over towards the right, over towards the left. Giving yourself, so this is this chance to give yourself a bit of a massage. It's, yeah, hopefully nice. So carry on with a little bit of this. So what we're going to do in a moment, there's no rush, carry on enjoying a bit of rocking, is that we're going to come over into sitting and we're going to come back to the breathing exercise we were doing and add in some alternate nostril breathing and some other colours. So from your, yes, from you can rock onto your side, you can have a few breaths on your side, you can think about how you're going to sit. I will remember to mute you this time. So I'll talk you through what we're going to do and then I'll mute you at that point. So now what's left us. So in this one, we still add in, so if I talk you through how the exercise goes and then a little bit about doing the alternate nostril breathing and then we'll do it together. So in this exercise, we start off breathing in the golden sunlight and then we will close our left nostril. So I suggest actually you close your nostrils just using the index finger in each hand because we're not closing the nostrils all the time and it's the most relaxing way to do it. So we'll breathe in the golden light. You might as well try this with me. We'll close the left nostril and it's not the flary bit, it's just above the flary bit, otherwise your nose will stick. And then we'll exhale red through the right nostril and red is for anger. So we're letting whatever, if we feel angry about anything, we're letting that go with the red. We relax our hand, we breathe in the golden sunlight through both nostrils again. Then we close the right nostril, again, not the flary bit, just above it. We breathe out black. And so black is for sadness, despair, depression through the left nostril. So anything we're feeling sad about, we breathe that out, we let it go. We rest the hand, we breathe in the golden sunlight through both nostrils. Then our next out breath is through both nostrils and it's the grey. From that point between the eyebrows. And then we go back to golden sunlight, exhaling red. So that's the sort of pattern. We're always breathing in the golden sunlight, thank goodness. We breathe out red through one nostril, black through one nostril, grey through both. It might sound complicated, but it isn't, and I will talk you through. And it's just really, I just find it's a good way to perhaps be more aware of how we're feeling, you know. Are we feeling lethargic, angry, sad? Can we let some of those feelings go? Can we, welcome in some of the sunlight? So just settling yourselves down, make sure you're going to be warm enough. You've got, yeah, you're in a comfortable sitting position. You don't have to have your legs crossed. Your back can be against the wall. So however is most comfortable. Have your hands resting on your thighs. I'm going to mute you now. So when you're ready, letting a breath come in through both nostrils, and this is breathing in the beautiful golden sunlight. And at the end of that inhalation, use your left index finger to close your left nostril, and you're going to breathe out red for anger through your right nostril. And then rest your hand, breathe in beautiful golden sunlight through both nostrils again. And then close your right nostril, and you're breathing out black for anger. No, so black for despair, sadness through your left nostril. The end of that out breath, rest your hand down, breathe in golden sunlight through both nostrils. And then breathing out grey through both nostrils. Once more, breathe in golden sunlight through both nostrils. Closing your left nostril, breathing out red for anger through your right nostril. Just letting it float away like red mist. Resting your hand, breathing in golden sunlight through both. Closing your right nostril, breathing out black for sadness through your left nostril. Resting your hand, breathing in golden sunlight through both nostrils. Breathing out grey through both nostrils from that point between your eyebrows. So lethargy. Breathing in golden sunlight again. Closing your left nostril. Exhaling red for anger through your right nostril. Releasing your hand, breathing in golden light through both. Closing your right nostril, breathing out black for sadness through your left nostril. Breathing in golden light through both nostrils. Breathing out grey through both nostrils. Breathing in golden light through both. And we'll go through one more cycle of this. Closing your left nostril, breathing out red for anger through your right nostril. Resting your hand, breathing in golden light through both nostrils. Closing your right nostril, exhaling black for sadness through your left nostril. Breathing in golden light through both nostrils. And then one last time, exhaling grey from that point between your eyebrows. Grey for sluggishness, lethargy, apathy. Breathing it out through both nostrils. And then breathing in golden light through both nostrils. And then just let go of your breathing, just let your breathing soften. Come to feel the contact of your legs and your pelvis on the floor. You could come to a little bit of circling or rocking. Let your shoulders drop. And in a moment, we're going to make our way to lying down, but it might be nice here to fold forwards first. To, I often say, to feel the hands on the floor, to bring your palms onto the floor, to maybe touch your forehead on the floor, even if that means bringing your bottom up into the air. It's fine. You can come onto hands and knees. You can touch your forehead onto the floor. And then make your way. If you want to, you're very welcome to stay sitting, but it's probably nice, you know, to lie down. Sure, as much as we think would be in lockdown, would have all this restful time, but you probably don't. So lying on your mats with your blankets, making yourselves comfortable. I'll keep you muted for the time being. And as we settle, I actually have a short, very short poem, a short reading from Ryokan, the 18th century Japanese monk poet. So these poems are very much, they're short, they're not haiku, but they're like haiku in terms of just giving us a moment, an image of a moment that brings us into the brings us into the present moment. So once you're settled, I'll read the poem, and I think it's just about letting the words come to you and perhaps the images that appear in your mind. And maybe the feelings that come with those images. In the empty doorway, many petals are scattered. As they fall, they blend with the song of the birds. Slowly, the bright spring sun appears in the window, and a thin line of smoke drifts from the incense burner. So I very much love these poems because they seem so timeless to me. From 2 centuries ago, it could be now. And that helps with a feeling of our interconnectedness, even at these times when we perhaps feel more isolated and alone. And just bringing your attention to your breathing. I'm going to ring the singing bowl in a moment, but I'd like you to gather your awareness into the ebb and flow of your breath. Movement of your breath in your body, through your body, filling and emptying. So take your time, I'm going to unmute you. Thank you so much, everyone. That's the book, One Robe. Oh, come and see it, Kenny. One Robe, One Bowl, Ryokan. So I'm just quite drawn to these poems at the moment. So, and yeah, so lovely to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Be happy. The sun is shining.
Yeah. Have a good weekend.
Yes.
Oh, actually, it's only Wednesday, isn't it? I know, so like we've got a long weekend, aren't we?
We've got this long weekend, haven't we, with bank holiday?
Yeah.
Doesn't really make much difference. I am teaching on Friday for those of you, Helen, who join. It's not, I just thought, well, a bank holiday, but it doesn't really.
No, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you on Monday.
I'll see you Monday. Lovely.
Bye, Kara.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Oh, nice to see you, Sharon. So when are you working again then? Are you...
I worked long day Sunday, then Monday night. So I think I'm on Saturday or Sunday now. So I've got a few days off.
Quite disorientating to.
It's completely. I don't know. That's why this morning when I said to you, well, earlier, did you have a good weekend? I can't work out where we are.
It's hard enough anyway, but then if you're working nights, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather not have a long day before it because they're 12-hour shifts, but it's fine. Once you're there, it's fine. It's learning to sleep again at night. But that was so lovely, though. I didn't realise how stiff I was.
Yeah.
Really nice. I loved doing Half Moon as a sequence because you don't build up any anxiety about it. You just think, oh, it's a brief visit. So it was lovely.
You know, Sarah, it was something I got from Sarah years ago. She's just disappeared. So, yeah, and I was trying to sort of think my way through it. So anyway, I'll have to ask her next time she reappears.
Yeah, no, that was lovely. That was really nice.
Well, I think, again, it's about that moving, isn't it? I just feel at the moment that
I love the way you do lots of sequences. It just seems to be, as you say, because you're not holding, you're moving. It just is lovely.
It does feel very much what it seems to be what I need and what maybe people need, because I suppose it is, isn't it? We're lockdown is the opposite of that, isn't it? You're stuck.
Yes. And I love this. Did you call it
Hakini mantra? That's what it is. This one,
I've really been doing that in the garden. I got out for a few minutes ago. The neighbours must think I'm a bit.
Well, that's good. Have you been doing lots of gardening, Sharon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm full of scratches everywhere. But
it's just getting rid of the stuff, isn't it? Because my compost bin is now utterly full and
do you have a green bin in
They stopped emptying them. You see, I shared a neighbour's green bin, but then they stopped emptying them in Brighton.
Have they?
Yeah. I think they might be starting up again, but so then I thought I can't put any more in a green bin because
because that's something I noticed. We're going week by week because we're just cutting. Everything's grown so well, and it's only a small garden, but it's like a jungle. So it's just hacking our way through,
isn't it?
Oh,
but I did do a big clear out, and a friend had a skip, and she said it was on her drive. She said you can come put some stuff in the skip.
Oh, that's
in the
nice.
front garden, and that was really good. But
because it really mounts up. You don't realise, do you? Like, wow.
And I was waiting. I must go out and see. I was waiting for the compost bin to sort of go down.
Takes time. Oh, listen, that's so lovely. And I love alternate nostril breathing. I do that a lot. And that, with the colours, really nice.
Yeah, well, yes, we were going to do it last week because I was thinking it was one of the things I really like, and then I was thinking after Daisy, and it's I just find it interesting to see, what's present, and I feel a lot less sad about Daisy. I think
you feel lighter. You feel lighter. I mean, I remember meeting her so many years ago when the girls are really little, and she's such a lovely dog. She's just
such a lovely dog. Yes. I mean, I'm even thinking now about the possibility of another, which I really didn't think I would be. But when I met actually, and I met one very like Daisy up at the golf course a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
That
probably sparked something again.
And I think Otto is, bless him, he is a bit lost without her.
That's what I was thinking. They can't understand where's she gone, and it must be just, even like you say, I really understood what you said about a quiet presence, because Chili's only little, but I notice when she's not in the house, it's a completely different feel.
It really
is little, but they've got such a presence, haven't they?
They do, don't they? And I think that's what with Daisy, I sort of thought, we've got 2 cats and a dog, but it's weird, and he's just been very subdued. Which on one hand, I think he's been very well behaved. But on the other hand, it's a bit like, hang on a minute,
that's not normal.
That's not right.
Oh, did you do a nice walk? Did you go somewhere where Daisy and you used to go, or?
Well, we've sort of buried her up. We buried her out at an undisclosed location. So I keep walking her as a little pilgrim every day. So.
Oh, that's lovely, Kara. That is really nice, because then you can go and have your quiet thoughts with her. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and we were just lucky because it rained. There was that had it not rained last week, we wouldn't have been able to do that. And then it's rained, and it doesn't look like it's a crime.
Yes. Oh, that's really lovely.
Yeah, so that and it was a spot where I'd always thought that's what I'd like to do. So probably because of lockdown, we were able to do it really.
No, you see, that has its uses, doesn't it?
So that's really helped, I think, to feel that I can sort of walk up there and this is the thing, isn't it? We love them so much, but
I think it's because they love us so unconditionally. They just creep in your heart. It shocks me, actually. And we all the girls that, I mean, they call her their little sister. Mum, you've had 3 children. I'm like, but it is a bit like that. They're so part of your family, aren't they? They're just.
Oh, I think they're so, they are. And I just think they're so loving, and then they don't argue back like the actual children.
That advantage. Listen, have a lovely, lovely day. I'll see you Friday.
Yes, see you Friday.
Bye, Kara.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.